What's that? Excellent. All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll here shortly. We're getting the headlines on screen. We've had a good streak, good run of great shows, I think, for you guys. I think today will be another one of those days as we do the best we can with what we got every single day. If you can, do me a favor of hitting like and share on the program. Thank you, Warrior AG, Albert Graves, for liking the show on Twitter. We're really grateful for your engagement on Twitter. In fact, I love when you watch on that platform, Warrior AG. I love when Dylan's Rule watches on Twitter as well, as we continue to grow our following on the Twitter sphere. Folks, there was an interesting comment made by Sean Reeves, the Albemarle County Police Chief, yesterday in a Albemarle Police Citizens Advisory Committee that I want to relay to you. This was his comment. Albemarle County Police, UVA Police, and Charlottesville City Police are coming together on a monthly basis at a regional command staff meeting where it's not just the three chiefs, it's our commanders too that get together. Sean Reeves said, for the first time in 5 years, we're working together. That really stood out to me. He says for the first time in more than 5 years, he is seeing collaboration between police departments in Charlottesville, Albemarle, and UVA. That's good news. I think one of the storylines that may be under the radar here, thank you, Warrior AG, for that retweet as well. I think one of the storylines that may be flowing under the radar here is the damage that Dr. Rachel Brackney did to the police department with working with other departments in this area. Did her political malpractice in how she went about running her department, was it so piss poor that other departments were alienated by her leadership tactics? We'll talk about that on today's program. Give it a like, give it a share. Give it a like, give it a share anywhere you are watching. Roanoke City Council is very close to enforcing a curfew for teenagers as Roanoke struggles with gun violence of its own. We're going to talk UVA basketball. They play Furman tomorrow, 12:40. True TV, who's a 6-point favorite. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook owner, Meta founder, owner, CEO, says in-person employees work and produce at a greater clip than stay-at-home employees. It's spreading, dude. The employees lost the leverage as the layoffs ravage the country. And the leverage is back in the hands of employers. I've been saying that for close to a year now. Bellamy Brown on Friday's show, he's running for delegate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. J-Dubs. We can rock and roll when you're ready. Judah, I'm seeing Tennessee, Orlando, Florida, folks in the Outer Banks, folks outside Philadelphia, and some IP addresses on Long Island watching today's program. Vanessa Parkhill, welcome to the show, the Queen of Earlysville. We really appreciate you, Vanessa Parkhill. Jojo Robertson, hello, Jojo. Thank you for liking the show. We've missed you, Jojo. Welcome to the program, Jojo. Love when you watch the show and you get us thinking and talking with your very fantastic comments, Jojo Robertson. Welcome to the program. J-Dubs, I'm in your hands.
Quiet on the set.
Good Wednesday afternoon, guys. Jerry Miller, the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us live in downtown Charlottesville on a show presented by Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Dr. Wagner and his team at Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine have your back. They're changing people's lives through an integrated medicine strategy that is undoubtedly innovative and effective. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. We'll talk basketball. UVA Furman tomorrow, 12:40 tip. True TV, Wahoos or a 6-point favorite. What should UVA do to win this game? 6 points, the spread. Vegas is predicting a close one. Furman likes to get up and down the floor. We'll talk this topic on today's show. We'll talk the heat map released by the Charlottesville Police Department. We'll let you know where the crime is happening as suggested by the data. Numbers and data are not a bad way to go about policing in 2023. We'll explain where the crime is happening and how this crime could potentially be resolved in a town we love called Charlottesville, Virginia. I want to relay what Sean Reeves said yesterday. I have a lot of respect for Sean Reeves. In fact, why don't the folks that watch the program that have ties to police, in particular the Albemarle County Police Department, send Chief Sean Reeves a text message and let him know we are highlighting some of the things he said yesterday at an Albemarle Police Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. Sean Reeves, the police chief at Albemarle, on the record, he said for the first time in more than 5 years, he is seeing a collaboration between police departments in Charlottesville, Albemarle, and the University of Virginia. The three departments are communicating and working alongside each other. He said this has not happened for 5 years. That resonated with me, that statement, considerably. He said it's not just the chiefs getting together at the regional command staff meeting, but commanders are joining as well as they try to resolve gun, gang, and drug violence in this community. Remember, much of the violence that's gun-related in Charlottesville is impacting Albemarle County and vice versa. It's an invisible line that separates these two jurisdictions, and crime does not know this invisible line and where it is located. I want to ask you this question, viewer and listener. Are we still, Michael Kotchis has alluded to this as well, Judah. Michael Kotchis alluded, the police chief of Charlottesville, that for years, Charlottesville Police Department has not engaged the community through walk and talks, through police events that show the badge and the uniform in a humanized setting as opposed to a police setting. Kotchis has said, we have not engaged this community in a number of years. Yesterday, Sean Reeves said this is the first time in 5 years the departments are working together. Are we still navigating the collateral damage that was Dr. Rachel Brackney and how she went about policing in Charlottesville? Did Brackney alienate, polarize, and distance the Charlottesville Police Department from not only the community, but other departments as well, specifically Albemarle and the University of Virginia? Remember, there was undoubtedly beef between Brackney and friend of the program, Michael Wells, who is, frankly speaking, behind the scenes, a very influential man when it comes to policing in Central Virginia. And frankly speaking, Michael Wells, when it's all said and done, he wants what's best for this community from a safety standpoint. That's how he goes about his professional life. So I'm going to ask this question. Did Brackney do so much damage locally that she not only polarized the department from a community standpoint, but also alienated the department from working with other coinciding departments like Albemarle and UVA? That topic on today's show. We'll also chitter-chatter on the program. Roanoke, the city of Roanoke, is this close, and if you're just listening to this program, it's very close, of enforcing a teenage curfew that's on the books. A teenage curfew where if you're 16 and under, you have to be in your house at 11 o'clock Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you have to be in your house at midnight on Friday and Saturday. Good Lord, 16 and under? You would think they're already in their house on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those are school nights, Judah, by 11 o'clock. 16 years for a midnight curfew on Friday and Saturday? I think a midnight curfew is more than justifiable for a 16-year-old and younger, a midnight curfew on Friday and Saturday. Roanoke's got a gun problem. And Roanoke's gun problem is very similar to Charlottesville's. A lot of teenagers popping off and utilizing steel to resolve arguments. So one of the ways Roanoke's trying to resolve this situation is a teenage curfew, which is already a letter of the law, and enforcing it as opposed to making it an afterthought. That topic on today's show, I want to remind the viewers and listeners that Bellamy Brown is going to be on Friday's program, friend of the show. Bellamy Brown is a delegate candidate. He, along with Katrina Carlson, Dave Norris, and Deshaun Cooper, are on a ballot in a race that will be determined in a primary Democratic in June. I'll ask Bellamy Brown, what separates himself from some stiff competition, and then we'll talk Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg back-to-back days. Yesterday's show, we talked Facebook and Meta laying off 23,000 people in 5 months. Not only did Facebook and Meta lay off 23,000 people in the last 5 months, a sizable portion of their workforce, about 25% plus of their workforce, they've laid off in the last 5 months. But they also took 5,000 job openings and vaporized them. Those 5,000 job openings don't exist anymore. Today, Zuckerberg's in the news for saying employees that come to work and are in person at our office, they're way more productive than employees that stay home and work remotely. Zuckerberg straight up said that. The work from home mentality and movement and momentum is being silenced and diminished. We'll talk about that on today's show. Judah very much disagrees with me. I got a tweet from Dylan's Rule that I'm going to get to. Dylan's Rule, I love when you watch the program. He says, Jerry, if you do a Google search, go look for a Nolan Stout story in early 2020 about UVA football players in the Charlottesville Police Department and University Police Department at the time. Might be illuminating about the interagency interaction. He says, take a look at the timeline. Al Thomas left in December 2017. Brackney arrived in June or July of 2018. Reeves cited a 5-year timeline. All right, why don't we start with that? And then we'll go into where crime is happening. I promise I'll talk UVA. Two-shot Judah Wickower. I'm going to ask this question, and you have the heat map that we're going to put on screen. We can put that on, wait for me to put on screen. I need to set the stage. The police has been a hot topic on today's show. Yesterday, the Albemarle Police Chief, Sean Reeves, Chief Reeves, I love how you go about leading your department. You have a vacancy rate that's single digits. Was it 6% we researched and figured out the other day? Albemarle County Police Department has a vacancy rate of 6%. Charlottesville City's is over 30%. Chief Reeves, you should be applauded for that. Chief Reeves should be applauded for running a department and doing it in a quiet, humble, behind-the-scenes way, often with leadership, especially governmental leadership like police chief, city council, city manager. You don't need to be in the news and the limelight all the damn day. Being in the background, humble, quiet, productive, and getting things done, that's called leadership. Reeves is embodying that quality right now. He spoke yesterday at an Albemarle County Police Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. This is an on-the-record government meeting, and Chief Reeves in this meeting straight up said for the first time in more than 5 years, you're seeing collaboration between Charlottesville City, Albemarle County, and UVA and their respective police departments. Dylan's Rule is straight up saying, look at the timeline. Al Thomas left in December 2017. Brackney arrived in June or July of 2018. Reeves cites a 5-year timeline. Is this the collateral damage of Dr. Rachel Brackney that we're still facing and feeling today? Brackney still suing the city of Charlottesville. Is she still suing? Is it an active case? Is the case in purgatory? Brackney, what are you doing? Where's the case at? For $10 million claiming wrongful termination because she was a black female. Is that case still alive? Is the Johnny Cochran lawyer from the Cochran Law Firm still fighting for a $10 million on your behalf, Brackney? Can you send a tweet out and let us know what's going on? Are we still dealing with Brackney's collateral damage today? Judah Wickower?
I think so. I mean, we all know that there's more than one cause for the problems that we've seen in the Charlottesville Police Department. But I think it's fair to say that a lot of that can be laid at Dr. Brackney's feet.
I mean, she sues the city, wrongful termination.
Yeah.
During her time, a third of the department becomes empty and vacant. She goes after community stakeholders, including people tied to churches, church deacons. She goes after police civilian review board members, including the one that's going to be our guest on Friday.
Yeah.
She has a brouhaha with friend of the program, Michael Wells. She does not seem to be, there does not seem to be closure with Brackney and her former employer, Charlottesville. It's almost like a jilted ex-lover, unable to forget about his or her time with their ex and constantly having to bring it up all the time. We all know someone who's done that.
I feel like she wanted to. I feel like she wanted to make a name for herself, and rather than just do a good, competent job, she was trying to, like, I don't know, create some type of legacy. But I think it backfired on her.
I think that's what's happened. What do you make of Chief Reeves of Albemarle saying for the first time in more than 5 years, we have collaboration between UVA, Charlottesville, and Albemarle and their respective police departments? I was flabbergasted by that. This is on the record, him saying it. Police departments that literally are policing basically the same territories. I mean, hell, the shooting that resulted in the killing of a 20-year-old on Cherry Avenue at the Sunshine convenience store, the two guys that walked into the convenience store, one of the two guys went on the lam to an apartment in Albemarle County, and that's where they caught him.
And Albemarle County Police recently caught another guy who, I think it was just for brandishing a firearm, who they remanded to
CPD.
Yeah. So it's great that they're working together, and I applaud them. And it's a shame that that it's been 5 years. How much could we have prevented that we've been seeing in the news lately if that interdepartmental cooperation had been in place, all this time?
All this time. All viewers and listeners, are you as flabbergasted as I am that the chief of Albemarle is saying for the first time in 5 years the departments are collaborating? That statement says 1,000 other words.
Yeah.
Why? This is what we should all be asking. Why for over 5 years have these departments not been collaborating?
Yeah.
The next question we should be asking.
I mean, you would think that these people would see each other on a
That's what I'm saying.
Almost daily basis.
That's what I'm saying.
They're leaders of the communities.
Kevin Yancey says, why did Tito Durrett not move the department forward then, Jerry? I think that's an unfair question for Assistant Police Chief Tito Durrett. Remember, Tito Durrett was the interim police chief before Kachis was hired. Yeah. It's very difficult for someone with an interim label to make substantial change. Tito Durrett's role as an interim police chief was to keep the department afloat.
Yeah.
It was not to make substantial change.
Right.
He was the Band-Aid stopgap between Brackney and Kachis. It wasn't up to him to make that substantial change. This is a result, this lack of communication, I think is a correlation directly to Brackney.
You think that she kind of scared everyone off of...
Who? It's the same thing that happened with Nakia Walker. It was a fire constantly. And people got tired of being burned or were afraid of the perception that they would get burned. Yeah. So they just distanced themselves from these folks.
Right.
That's what happened. That's what happened. I mean, Brackney had beef with friend of the program, Michael Wells, right, of the Police Benevolent Association. This guy is a influencing type of man in Albemarle's police department and Charlottesville's and Central Virginia's.
Yeah.
Put the heat map up. Here's the heat map released yesterday by the Charlottesville Police Department. You got that map?
Yep.
Dylan's Rule, great comments. Anonymous, Deep Throat. We'll get to your comment here in a matter of moments. What does this heat map tell you? First off, the heat map straight up says the crime is happening in basically the aggregated crime. There are some exceptions to where the crime is happening.
Yeah.
Outlier data. But for the most part, the crime is happening the Cherry Avenue corridor and 10th and Page. That's where it's happening. You got a couple of heat spots on Cherry Avenue, and you got 10th and Page. That's where the crime is happening. Interestingly, historically, this is where the crime has generally always happened.
Yeah.
Deep Throat says this in a DM on Twitter. Jerry and Judah on where the crime is happening, superimposed. Wow, get ready for this, Judah. You should listen to this. Viewers and listeners, you should listen to this comment from Deep Throat. Are you listening, Judah?
Yeah.
This is going to get you thinking. This is from Deep Throat. Jerry and Judah on where the crime is happening, you guys should superimpose public and subsidized housing on the heat map, on the crime map you just showed. There's a near perfect coincidence. Hardy Drive, South First, Sunrise Park Lane, the CRHA-owned houses on Riverside and Woolen Mills, Friendship Court, Heartwood. Uncanny, even if it's politically incorrect to notice, maybe some of this needs to be laid at the feet of CRHA and not just police. So he's doing a direct correlation between subsidized and public housing and where the crime is happening in this community. CRHA is the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority. You want to touch that topic, Judah Wickower?
Not with a 10-foot pole. But seriously, I mean, what can you say to that won't get you in trouble? It is very interesting. And I don't know that it's all that surprising. I mean, nobody's expecting to see gun violence popping up in Keswick or,
Greenbrier. 2 counselors live in the Greenbrier neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's in the city.
I mean, I don't hear gunshots in my neighborhood. Thankfully.
Does some of the accountability fall at the feet, as Deep Throat has said, of the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority? Is that fair?
I'm not sure that is fair. Why would the blame for any of this fall at their feet?
Maybe the vetting is not at the standards it should be for folks that are in the Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority housing. Is that fair?
I don't know if
the
that's
Charlottesville
fair.
Redevelopment and Housing Authority is a resident-centered organization committed to excellence in providing affordable quality housing, revitalizing communities, and supporting resident involvement and promoting upward mobility and self-sufficiency through partnerships in the public and private sectors. You don't think it's fair? I respect you. You don't think it's fair?
How would it be their fault? You mentioned vetting, but those people have to live somewhere, right?
Yes, everyone deserves housing.
So even if they don't deserve housing, they've still got to live somewhere. So even if CHRA, is that what it is?
Yeah, CRHA is the acronym.
Even if they don't give those certain people places in their housing, those people are still going to end up somewhere.
Well, I meant vetting of candidates for the housing offered. Deep Throat follows, they need to screen better and evict problem tenants quicker. Fair or not fair? Jude and I are going to disagree on this one here. Well, we can disagree. Totally cool.
How is evicting the people going to prevent violence?
Deep Throat just responded to you. To protect the tenants who are not committing crime, Judah. I'll be the messenger here. You're communicate with Deep Throat. He's communicating with me. I'm the middleman. Go.
I can get behind that. That's a good point. But those people are still going to end up somewhere, and you may be protecting people in those particular spots, but I don't see how that's going to affect the crime rate. It might just move it around the city.
Deep Throat, you want to respond to Judah Wickower right there? Jojo Robinson says, I think that Brackney's relationship with the mayor allowed Brackney to be divisive within the police department. Just my opinion. I agree with that opinion. She formed an alliance with former Mayor Nakia Walker, and that offered former Chief Brackney a latitude of plank. Walking the plank, Brackney's plank was way longer than it should have been. And she had that leash and latitude because of the strategic alliance formed with Nakia Walker. I think that's 100% true.
And it could have also given them a particular outlook that shuttered them from exactly what we were talking about with there being no cooperation between the departments.
Deep Throat says, Deep Throat, he says, well then move it out of the city. Get the folks committing the crime out of here. Probably better for them to be split up as well, as opposed to aggregated in the same area. That right there is an interesting topic. If you superimpose public and subsidized housing on the heat map provided by the Charlottesville Police Department, you will see the crime coincides very closely with public and subsidized housing. Deep Throat, do you have a PDF or a JPEG that you can send us? Just an easy, clean one that shows the heat map from Conscious and the Charlottesville Police Department with the superimposed public housing and subsidized housing that you mentioned. Something that is very easily digestible that we can put on screen and then publish after the show that shows this trend you're talking. The problem is if you mention this trend, you get lambasted politically and socially that a lot of folks outside maybe Judah and yours truly would not even mention this on air or mention this in a public setting. Olivia Branch watching the program, she says she's the Queen of Keswick. The collaboration of our policing services is a sign of effective leadership in these three sectors. Olivia, I 1,000% agree with you. Olivia Branch, I love when you watch the show. I love when you watch the show. And I'm going to be at Marigold later this month, and I hope to bump into you. Thank you for watching today and commenting. I love when you watch the show, Queen of Keswick. Deep Throat, Judah does not know who you are as a person, but he does get a glimpse on our direct messages on Twitter. He says if you go to the direct message of me and Deep Throat on Twitter, he's included a link. This link is tough though, Deep Throat. Deep Throat.
I just found a map on Housing Authority properties.
Deep Throat is a data guy. We got to work on the visual presentations, my friend. The visual presentations. If you can find the map that he sent us and put it on screen, maybe that would be offer value to the viewers and listeners. Matt Daring watching the program, the king of cycling. Matt, your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts, Matt and Kevin Yancey and everybody else watching this program, when a chief of Albemarle County's police department says for the first time in 5 years, Albemarle County Police Department is working together in collaboration with UVA and the city of Charlottesville? Does your jaw not drop that someone says that on the record at a government meeting? Is anyone else flabbergasted by that? And if you are flabbergasted, isn't the next logical question, how have we gotten to this point? And how much does that fall on Brackney? Seriously. Thoughts, viewers and listeners? I would love to hear them. John Blair, welcome to the show. Thank you kindly for joining us. I got comments coming in on LinkedIn. I got to be more mindful of the LinkedIn platform. I don't often check the comments there. I need to. John Blair says this, Jerry, really interesting comments. about WFH. I think you are correct. The employers are regaining the upper hand in these relationships. I have a friend who works in Google's general counsel office, and while there isn't a formal edict, it's pretty clear to everyone who works there that you should be in the office a few days a week. Yeah, I think the work from home movement is very much losing steam. Very much losing steam. And that's for a number of reasons. I'll unpack that later in the show.
One of them is that when you pay a lot of money for
Yeah, that's definitely one. Office space.
office space,
You better use it.
you look like an idiot if you send everybody home afterwards.
Yeah, and there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of these Fortune 100, Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies have got decade-long leases and are spending millions, tens of millions of dollars on rent. And to justify the expense, they're insisting that people come back to work so they don't look like fools. I also think that there's still something to be said about having human face-to-face connection, Judah. Zuckerberg has told people, this is the same guy who's laid off 23,000 people in the last 5 months, Facebook and Meta. He today is in the news cycle saying the people that are coming into work are producing at a greater clip than the people staying at home. If you're working at home for Facebook and Meta, the writing is on the wall. He wants you in the office, and he's going to can you if you're not. The writing is on the wall.
3 days out of the week.
What, Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
As opposed to 0.
Yeah.
He wants them at least 3 in. If I was Facebook and Meta, dude, I sincerely mean this. If I was working at Facebook and Meta right now and I was able to save my job and was not laid off like one of the 23,000 people, or roughly a third of the company were in the last 5 months, I would be showing up to work 5 days a week. I would be showing up to work early. I'd be leaving late. I'd make sure my bosses saw that I was there early and I was working late, and I would gain vertical potential from that sweat equity.
Until they fired you.
I think the person that's coming into work 5 days a week and staying early, coming early and staying late is less likely to get canned than the one working from home. The one working from home doesn't have a relationship in place with the boss. He just becomes, or she just becomes, a name on payroll and not Judah, who's got a dog, Liza, and likes movies, and likes to go to brunch late, and has stuff in his life that we know about, human connection. You got the map up? Is it to download from the website?
Well, I've got, first of all, I'm going to put the heat map up, and then I've got a map that I did the best I could to...
Okay, so is this the police? This is the Charlottesville Police heat map?
That's the heat map that we showed before. And
That's on screen now. This is from the police department. These red spots are 10th and Page and essentially the Cherry Avenue corridor.
And this is the let's see, what the hell's it called? The CHRA.
This is the Charlottesville.
Hold on, I can.
This is the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority map, is what you're showing on screen?
Yeah, this is the Housing Authority properties.
Okay, so you're putting that on screen now. Is that on screen?
That is now on screen.
Okay, so this is the properties they manage.
And now I'm going to try to get a copy of the one that...
Okay, so this is... Oh, dude, this is excellent from Judah. Doing this on the fly, Deep Throat, we got to give Judah some props on this, right? So the first map he showed was the heat map from Kochis. Now he's showing a map on screen from the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority. The heat map coincides perfectly with a lot of the Charlottesville Housing and Redevelopment Housing Authority housing stock that they manage. What are you putting on screen now?
Now I'm trying to get the map that he sent.
Oh, he says, well done, Judah. Look, you got a well done, Judah, from Deep Throat.
Thank you. All right, I've got a screenshot of his map.
So now you're putting up Deep Throat's map.
Yeah.
That was enterprising, dude. On the fly, homie.
Let's see.
Legit. Matt Daring says, my thoughts are displayed in the visual I provided above in the comment section of your Facebook page, Jerry. I believe the lack of working together by the department is a fallout of the Unite the Right rally, domestic terrorism event that happened here. The Seville leadership suffered more greatly than did UVA or Albemarle County. One party of that tri-party group got hammered more than the rest. That's fair, Matt Daring. The Unite the Right rally, was it you that was telling me that the creator of Dilbert
Yeah.
says the Unite the Right rally was a hoax?
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's absolutely nuts. That was
let's
out
see.
today, right?
Let's see. It's from yesterday in something called Pointer, but the title is "The Unite the Right rally was real, not a staged intel op," as Dilbert creator Scott Adams claims.
All right, viewers and listeners that watch this fine and fair talk show know that I was at the Unite the Right rally on August 12, 2017, one of the few times I've lied to my loving and wonderful wife. I told her on Saturday, the morning of August 12th, it was a Saturday, that I was going to go to ACAC downtown to work out. It was a bold-faced lie, a stone-cold, bold-faced lie. I didn't go to the ACAC parking lot at all. Instead, I went to I Love Seville on Market Street. And I watched sin and terror and nastiness and behavior that I'd never seen in my life, literally in front of our studio. And about 2 hours later, my wife said, "I know you're not at ACAC. I've tried tracking you down there. I know you're at this fiasco. Get home right now." And then we went to the bowling alley. I was literally right there for 2+ hours watching this. And if the creator of Dilbert says the Unite the Right rally was fake and it was a hoax and it was theater, I say BS, dude. You have no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak for you, but I would imagine you echo those thoughts as well.
Yeah, I have some problems with the whole narrative, but I have no doubt that it was real.
Dylan's Rule on Twitter says, it's also worth pointing out that Brackney was criticizing the Charlottesville Police Department and the city on Twitter and through a lawsuit while Durrett was the interim chief. It's extremely difficult to be effective in an interim role, Judah, during that situation.
Say that again?
Dylan's Rule says that when Durrett was the interim chief, Brackney, his former boss, was criticizing the police department and the city of Charlottesville on Twitter while her lawsuit was active. And he says, Judah, it's extremely difficult for Tito Durrett to be effective in an interim role when all that stuff is happening. I agree with that.
Yeah, no doubt.
He had his hands cuffed, pun intended, Tito Durrett.
Yeah, I mean, he had
I saw Tito at that police forum. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he had a smaller force. He had, he was basically doing cleanup duty and trying to prop the department up and keep it running. And and he was also not the elected official.
Albert Graves is wondering if you can overlay the heat map over the housing units that the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority manages or owns. Can you do that? Doing that on the fly might be difficult, but I'm sure we can do that post-show for tomorrow.
Overlay them? I mean, the problem is...
You're the graphic design wizard here. You don't have to give us an answer right now. If we can overlay them somehow, Michael Kochis' heat map with the map you just showed from the Charles CRHA, that would be valuable. That would be a valuable visual for the viewers and listeners.
And here's the one from Anonymous.
Which one?
Here's the one from the map that Anonymous...
This is from Deep Throat's map.
Yeah.
Deep Throat did this. Now, Deep Throat is a data finance guy, not a branding graphic design guy. So walk me through what you're saying here. This is the map from Deep Throat. The map from Deep Throat, is the purple the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority stock? That's got to be that, right?
The title of this map is crimemap.html. Did he put this together, or is this...
Oh, he put this together. Deep Throat did.
Okay.
Deep Throat put this together. This is the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority the housing stock that they own or manage superimposed on the heat map that Albemarle County Police provided. He says,
If he could provide...
he says red is crime,
Okay.
blue
I was just
is
gonna
the housing stock from Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Go ahead, Judah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if there was a key to the colors.
He also said the blue is the low-income housing tax credit stock. The problem is, what are we supposed to do with this? I guess this is one thing that we can do with this. This is data. This is why I like the show. This is why I like the show. We're crowdsourcing thoughts from a lot of different people at one time right now. Me and Judah, this guy Deep Throat, who I personally have met a handful of times. I'm not going to reveal who he is, but he's legit. He's well-read, he's informed, and he makes decisions backed on data. He's a data guy. We're crowdsourcing Dylan's Rule and a couple of other people on Facebook and LinkedIn right now. Is it fair to correlate the crime with public housing and subsidized housing?
I mean, that's my problem with
And then the next step is, should the police district, instead of being 10th and Page and Cherry Avenue, Fifeville, neighborhoods in totality, should it just be policing districts around these even more micro pockets? And I apologize for interrupting.
I mean, overall, I think my problem is, again, what I said before. Like, those people are going to go somewhere. He makes a good point that you could better protect the people that are living there, that aren't engaging in this kind of behavior. But I don't think that's going to drive out crime from Charlottesville by itself. And we all know that it's got to be a multi-pronged project.
It's silver buckshot, pun intended, not silver bullet. Terrible pun, horrible pun. A pun lacking empathy and compassion. Still a pun that was strategic and intended. It's a silver buckshot.
Yeah.
Policing districts is a silver buckshot. Collaboration between Albemarle, UVA, and Charlottesville City is a silver buckshot. Getting the department fully staffed is a silver buckshot. Walk and talks are a silver buckshot. The forum at the historically black church next to Dairy Market, that's now a wedding event venue, is a silver buckshot. What Roanoke City is trying to do with curfews for teenagers.
Curfew may be a part of the buckshot.
You want to offer curfew perspective on this? Roanoke City already has a curfew in place that they're not enforcing. This is already a law, but it's not being enforced. Now City Council is deliberating. They literally had a public comment yesterday that teenagers, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 16-year-olds and under, have to be in their home by 11 p.m. at night. On Friday and Saturday, they get till midnight. If they're on the streets or outside their home after 11 o'clock, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they can get popped by Johnny Law. And if they're on the streets or out of their house after midnight, 16-year-old and younger, on Friday and Saturday, they get popped by Johnny Law. Roanoke is doing this because they have gun violence. It's not unique to Charlottesville, and it's many teens that are popping off, pun intended. I'm full of them today, and that's how they're trying to control the killings and the gun, drug, and gang violence. Is that part of the silver buckshot strategy? Let's do it in Charlottesville for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm leery as to the effectiveness of it, but why not give it a try? I mean, I don't know that we've had a whole lot of information on gun violence happening at, those hours.
I mean, we've had gun violence happen then. Those hours. Remember we were talking about the Albemarle County middle school student that got shot next to Champion Brewing Company like 30 days ago? Remember that?
Was it that late?
Yeah. It was a school night at like Monday or Tuesday night. On a school night. And it was, I think it was in like the 10 o'clock hour. So it was flirting with that time.
Yeah, I still think it's dubious how much of an effect it would have, but at this point, like we said before, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Right. Just like the gun buyback program. Do we think the gun buyback program is going to take a lot of steel off the streets? No. Do we think the gun buyback program is another opportunity for the police to connect with citizens? Yes. And as Mayor Stoney of Richmond, Virginia said, if I get one gun off the street, then it's a success. And if you're quantifying success by getting one off the street, I would bet they'd get at least one off the street in a gun buyback program. It gets back to the silver
Maybe.
buckshot strategy.
Yeah.
These are all multi-pronged strategy for the overall goal of making Charlottesville and Central Virginia safer. Right?
Yeah.
That's the extent of what it is. There's no silver bullet. Ginny Who, I love when you watch the program on Twitter. She says, those were the curfews imposed by parents when I was that age. And I'm in my 40s, so I'm not ancient. Dude, I have no problem. Ginny Who, thank you for the comment. I have no problem if a 16-year-old or under has to be in their house at 11 p.m. on a school night.
Yeah.
I have no problem if a 16-year-old or under has a curfew of midnight on Friday and Saturday. That is not being too strict.
No.
My curfew...
I'm surprised that parents are letting their kids out past those times anyway.
Seriously.
Like, what are you doing?
Seriously.
No wonder kids are running wild if their parents are just letting them do whatever they want.
Cully Baggett just make the Cully Baggett is a developer. He's watching on Facebook. He said this. What are 16-year-old parents doing allowing their 16-year-old children out past 11 anyways? If I was out after 11 on a school night, it was because I slipped out my bedroom window. It's crazy to me that this is even a discussion.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very well said. Cully, I'm responding to your comment. Very well said. That's very well said. I'll evangelize for the curfew here in Charlottesville City. Roll it out. Roll out the curfew for the rest of the year in Charlottesville City. Roll it out.
It's not going to hurt anyone,
It's not going to hurt anyone.
and it might just save a few.
Comments have said if you do have the curfew, this has come on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify. One side effect of this curfew is potentially profiling, and innocent people will be targeted. Cops stopping people, asking ages to see if they're of age and should be out that late. Possibly.
Maybe.
Deep Throat says it's giving police the opportunity to stop and frisk young men at night. Who says innocent people will be hassled, but that's the trade-off.
That's always the trade-off. Kind of like police going into particular neighborhoods because those are the neighborhoods where you're seeing the most crime. I'm sorry, but it's unless you can police your own neighborhood and stop the
Which
criminals.
clear that's not happening.
Yeah, unless your community can do that work, then I believe it's been fairly well proven that that cops patrolling neighborhoods has an effect on crime, on slowing it down or preventing it.
I will check that out. Love when he watches the program. Jim Hingley, nothing but love for you. He sends us a DM with something to read after the program. We will check that out, Jim. I love when you watch and comment on the show. Jim, I enjoy seeing you around the downtown mall. I enjoy seeing you drive it around town in the Honda. I like you, Jim Hingley. You're a good dude. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for watching the program. Albert Graves, anything that keeps crime from happening in Charlottesville is a positive. We want to discourage bad behavior. It's either you want the police to do their job or not. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
I would love, Nora Gaffney says, my understanding is Charlottesville has a curfew for 17-year-olds and under. The date I saw was She's writing some more. The Charlottesville, here's the thing. Roanoke City actually has this curfew and it's law, but it's not enforced. So what Roanoke City is doing with its council is it's engaging the public in Roanoke and saying, we're considering enforcing this law now. We already have it on the books, but we're going to enforce it. How do you feel? And many in Roanoke have responded favorably to enforcing this law to the letter of the law. Matt Daring, king of cycling, king of Fifeville. That's exactly right. I doubt my kids will get stopped if they happen to be out. They aren't typically, but just speaking hypothetically, I could see where their friends would not have such a luxury. So what is that comment? Matt, is that comment, if I'm unpacking that comment, is that comment tied to race? Is that what he's saying there? Help me unpack Matt's comment. Is that tied to race? He says, Matt Daring is responding to Deep Throat's comment. And Matt Daring is saying on Facebook, responding to Deep Throat, Deep Throat is exactly right. I doubt my kids will get stopped if they happen to be out. They aren't typically, but just speaking hypothetically, I could see where their friends would not have such a luxury. I would imagine that's a comment associated with he's highlighting his children's friends that are children of color and that they would be targeted. Okay, he says 100%. That's exactly what he's alluding to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the crappy part about this. Another crappy part about this, and it sucks. I can't explain it any better than that. It just sucks. The policing districts, 2 of them, are going after historically black neighborhoods. 10th and Page, Fifeville, Cherry Avenue. Okay? Mm-hmm. Historically black neighborhoods. That's where the crime is happening. That's where police are aggregating their efforts. If they do this curfew thing, undoubtedly, disproportionately, children of color will be stopped, frisked, questioned at a greater clip than children that are white.
Well,
that will happen, and that sucks.
We have a general order in place for the from the Charlottesville Police Department with a juvenile.
There's a curfew in Charlottesville. Most of the cities
And-
have curfews. They're just not enforced.
Right. Guess who's the authorizing signature?
Oh, Judah. Is it Brackney? The curfew for Charlottesville City, it's Brackney who authorized it.
Yep.
That was during COVID, though. I bet you that was to keep COVID from spreading. What date was on that signature?
Effective date 11/5/19, November 5th, 2019.
Okay, so that was before COVID. COVID didn't hit till March 2020.
The purpose of this directive is to set forth the guidelines and procedures for officers to follow in handling juveniles who are in need of protection, who are in violation of status offenses, or who have committed delinquent or criminal acts.
You've made the show better today. You made the show better today with your perspective. You made the show better today with the maps you showed on screen. And you just made the show better today by explaining or showing to all of us that Brackney signed that curfew law into play. Can you share that link in the comment section for the viewers and listeners?
It's pretty long.
How did you find that?
I just typed in Charlottesville curfew. It's the top, no, not the top link, but actually, I mean, it's all part of charlottesville.gov.
Matt Daring, you got a response from your comment from Deep Throat. Deep Throat says Matt is right, but then the police have to go out of their way to stop people in an even-handed way, and that means some white parents will have to deal with their kids getting a ticket. If they are really concerned about crime, then have some skin in the game. Fair is fair. Man. Vanessa Parkhill, I'm always a little puzzled by this notion of picking and choosing which laws to enforce. It's a great comment. They pick and choose which laws to enforce from a speeding standpoint. You can go on Interstate 64, the speed limit might be 65, but if you keep it under 80 miles an hour, you're not going to get a ticket.
Right.
Once you clip 80, you're reckless, and you're more likely to get popped by the police. We're not going to enforce speeding if you stay under 80. We're not going to enforce the curfew if you're not committing any crimes. But she makes a point. I'm puzzled how we pick and choose which laws we're going to enforce. What do you make of that comment? You want to touch on that?
That's a tough one. There are lots of crazy laws. I mean, there used to be laws, and there are still laws in some places that you can't spit on the street, which makes a lot of sense in the middle of a pandemic when you could be passing something along, but makes a lot less sense in the normal everyday. And, you know, some of the laws are just insane. I mean, you've got laws on the books in, like, Bible Belt cities and towns that just are absurd. We look at them now and we're like, what were they thinking?
Like parts of Lynchburg area being a dry county where on Sundays you can't buy booze.
Yeah.
What were they thinking?
That was the way it was in Savannah when I was down there. You couldn't buy alcohol on Sunday. It's like, why not?
Right. We're just going to drive to the county next door, the jurisdiction right next to it, and buy it, and then bring it back into it. Your county.
There are bars open on Sundays.
Yeah, but it's for retail purposes.
I know, but does that make any
no, it makes
sense
no
at
sense.
all?
It makes no sense.
Nor does it make sense that you could go buy your alcohol Saturday night if you had the foresight to do so, and drink all day Sunday. It's just absurd that you can't buy alcohol on Sunday.
Here, how about the public container law? You cannot sit in front of your house or standing on the street in front of your house drinking a beer out of a can or out of a 40-ounce bottle. But if you put that beer, that tall boy, in a paper bag or that 40-ounce bottle in a paper bag, you can stand outside your house and drink beer. As long as we don't see that is an open container, we're not going to stop you. But as soon as we see it's an open container, we're going to stop you.
Yeah.
You can drive 80 miles an hour, 79.9 miles an hour on Interstate 64, but as soon as you hit 80, you're speeding.
Right. Or if a cop needs to meet his quota. But the fact of the matter is there are so many absurd laws on the books that I think it would take an exorbitant amount of time and money for legislators to go through and decide which ones are nuts and try to get them repealed or taken down or whatever.
Well, let's go down that road.
And so you just pick which ones are like, okay, look, we're not going to go after people for this.
Well, let's go down that road. The Charlottesville Police Department is 1/3 understaffed. If a curfew becomes a reality and it's truly enforced by the letter of the law, do we want a department that is 1/3 empty enforcing a curfew? The department is already saying we cannot police at our fullest extent because we have not enough people. Certain crimes, fill out a form online because the police ain't going to show up to the scene of the crime to do some policing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but at the same time, it's not like they're going to be sending squad cars out to go look for teenagers.
I certainly hope not.
It would be the kind of thing that if they run across something like that, then they have, what's the word I'm looking for?
Probable cause?
That's not really what I'm looking for.
Incentive to stop somebody? Leverage?
They've got the ability to do so because now it's on the books, or it's already on the books. But either way, I think it's the kind of thing that, you know, it just becomes a part of your perception. You know, as that becomes a part of something that the cops do, the cops will be going out, and it'll be something that they may have never thought about before, but now, as they drive around, if they see someone, it's a part of their, it's a part of their job. It's a part of their toolbox.
Deep Throat says, a curfew would have sucked for me. I was in college at 16. I said a curfew would have sucked for me too, but it was not because I was in college when I was 16. It's because I was constantly in trouble and sneaking out of the house and never on time for curfew. I was the quintessential troublemaker of my class. My parents would attest. All right. I thought so much constantly in the news here.
Yeah.
So much to cover constantly on this program. Thought you're doing fantastic work on this talk show.
Thank you.
Your perspective is valued. Okay? A lot of folks are asking for you to share that link with Brackney signing the curfew. I see 3 people asking about that.
So if you Google Charlottesville curfew and then scroll down to the first question, it says others want to know, and the top question is there a curfew in Charlottesville? Click on that so it opens up the drop down, and then click the link. That's the I can put it in the feed, but it is a very, very long link.
We got Bellamy Brown on Friday. If it's a long link, you don't have to put it in the feed. Bellamy Brown on Friday. What are you going to ask BB, B Squared, Bellamy Brown, friend of the program, all-around great guy.
All right.
Fitness aficionado.
The link is now on your personal.
Brackney signing the
feed.
curfew link is now on the comment section of my personal Facebook page.
Although I don't know. Let's see.
Facebook.com/Jerry Miller now to see it. Is it in there? Did you publish it?
I did, but I'm not sure if it's going to come across as a full link. Let me see.
All right. Well, we'll figure out after the show. We're getting in the weeds here. We're
Yeah.
getting in the weeds. What are you going to ask BB tomorrow on Friday when he comes on the program? B Squared, Bellamy Brown, fitness aficionado, community stakeholder, all-around A+ guy, eligible bachelor, Bellamy Brown, cool dude, guy I would love to belly up to a bar with, always dressed to the nines.
Definitely.
I can continue. I think you're watching here, Bellamy. I might call him one of the most eligible bachelors in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. Can I say that, B Squared? One of the most eligible bachelors in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? I'll put Judah Wickhauer on that short list, too. You're an eligible bachelor. What are you going to ask B Squared on Friday?
The link does work. I've got to think about that. Yeah, I put it in the.
I'm going to ask him this question. What separates your campaign and platform and your goals from your competition?
It's a good one.
I'm going to ask him this question. How is your experience locally offer the foundation for you to win a spot in Richmond as a delegate? I'm going to ask him this question. What can you do from an economic development standpoint? Because your other competition on this Democratic primary ticket are not focused on economic development. Can you be an economic development influencer or focus on this? And potentially that's a separation point from your competition. And you're right, that link that you shared did not share in totality. So I might hide that link from my Facebook page.
But click it.
You're saying if I click it, it'll go? All right, I'm clicking it right now. We got Katrina Coulson last Friday. Deshaun Cooper will get you on the program as well. Dave Norris, we can get you on the program as well. The most competitive local race is this one, decided in June. It's a slow. Oh, yeah. There you go, Judah. You shared it. Comment section, my personal page. Love it. Bravo. What do you make of Zuckerberg saying get back to work? Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, he's got more money than most of us can even imagine, and
What does that have to do with anything?
what does it have to do with anything? He is so disconnected with the reality of human life on Earth. You can quote
All
him.
he's saying is get back to work. I don't think we can utilize, and devil's advocate, sake of talk show, respectfully disagreeing with you. He's a billionaire. We get that. We understand that he's a different stratosphere of wealth that none of us will ever comprehend. I get that. But that level of wealth can still determine work,
I'm not
can
saying
still determine output.
I'm not saying it can't. I'm just
Okay,
saying.
and his statement was based on output. As the CEO of his company, as the founder of his company, the folks are outputting at a greater clip in person at their desk than the ones that are at their house, working remotely. That's all he's saying. I think the man can do that, and I agree with you that his wealth is jaded his perspective,
he can do
but he can
anything
still speak about output.
He can do anything he wants. I don't know how truthful or factual it is. Just because Zuckerberg says it doesn't mean it's true.
It's not just Zuckerberg who said this. This is the difference right here. This is the fundamental difference between an employer and an employee, what's happening right here. As an employer, I would want in-person as well. I understand you wanting the opportunity to work remotely. I get it.
I didn't say that.
I mean, I think if you had that luxury, you would take it. You would basically be like, an opportunity to distance myself from Jerry more hours every single week? Get me working from home. You would say that.
I've heard both sides of it, and not every job is does well with working from home, and not every job is. I think not every job makes working at the office that much of a difference. And for a lot of people, I think it's for a lot of people, I think the chance to work from home is a way to increase production. You don't have to spend half an hour
Traveling.
You don't have to worry about your kids being at some care center or whatever. I think there are
Care center, daycare, is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever. I just think that there are ups and downs to both of them.
That's fair.
It's easy to say one is better than the other, but there are far too many factors involved to make that a blanket statement across every.
Every space of business, every industry of business.
Yeah.
This is also the guy that just fired 23,000 people. So if you're working for this guy, you better listen up. He literally just fired a third of the workforce.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep working for this company, maybe you do, maybe you don't. The guy's straight up saying, here's your path to working for him. Get your ass in the office. He's fired 23,000 people in the last 5 months. And he took 5,000 additional vacancies that they were seeking people and vaporized those jobs. So he basically eliminated 28,000 jobs in 5 months.
Businesses like that are nuts anyways, though. I mean, I've heard of people that were getting paid to not do anything for companies like this.
100% Jamie Turner. More tech companies taking the Elon approach, lean and mean. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Elon Musk bought Twitter, took it private, fired or encouraged 70% of his staff to quit. Fired or encouraged or influenced 70% of his staff to quit. One of the ways he fired, influenced, or encouraged 70% of his staff to quit by saying, you're going to get your butt back into the office and work, and you're going to work long hours. 7 out of 10 people didn't want that. Now Twitter's operating on a lean 30% payroll, 30% staff versus where they were 6 months ago. Has anyone noticed the difference with Twitter?
Yes, there are people that have.
I haven't noticed a difference.
I mean, it's fortunate.
Twitter is operating.
It's fortunate that it still runs, but yes.
Twitter is operating with 70% less staff, and you would be hard pressed to find a difference.
But not all that staff was there to keep.
Jamie Turner makes the point. In today's high interest environment, the dollar has to be stretched further because the opportunity to get cheap money because of low rates is gone. And as Zuckerberg said earlier in the week, this is a time for big business to get lean and mean, like Jamie Turner said, and it's no longer the time to run a company lavishly like we did pre-COVID or halfway through COVID. Money was so cheap that these companies were hiring left and right for positions maybe they didn't need, and they were throwing bags of cash at people. That time is gone, especially in tech. And you could directly correlate it to interest rates. Cully Baggett, we'll close on this topic. Listen to this one. Cully, I like when you watch the program. You're very close to getting a nickname on the show because of your quality comments of late. Keep them coming, Cully. Cully Baggett says this: this should not become a race issue. He's talking about the curfews and policing districts.
Yeah.
It is not a race issue. This is a crime issue. The curfew is an attempt to reduce crime and keep children out of trouble, or even more so, keep them safe. The hot spots where the majority of the crimes are happening should most definitely be patrolled heavier, whether it's for curfew infractions or any other infractions. I don't care if you're white, black, yellow, pink, or purple. If the crime is more rampant in a certain neighborhood, then it should have more increased patrols, period. If we are having... Oh, he left another comment, and that comment got buried. Darn it, Cully, that was so good. The comments are coming in so fast, they're pushing the other comments down. All right, I got it right here. If we were having this conversation over speeding infractions that were occurring on Interstate 64, then we certainly wouldn't be having concentrated speed traps set on Market Street. That's a great comment. It's a great comment.
Yeah.
How much sense would that make? Let's get back to the common sense part of this, and that is 100% that areas of higher crime need more direct governing than ones without. Well said. I agree with that. I agree with that. Jamie Turner says some tech companies had remote employees pulling in multiple six figures and working remote for another company without either knowing. Cully Baggett, I had one at 15 when I got my learner's permit. I think he's talking curfew. Most kids get a driver's license once they are old enough at 16, and if they don't have that legitimate ID because they are 16, then that means they are in direct violation, I would think. All right, that's the show. We hope you enjoyed it. We did the best we could with what we had. Maria Marshall Barnes, thank you for watching the show. Jabricia Clark, Chris Allen, thank you and welcome to the program. We did the best we could with what we had today. We hope you enjoyed the program. We work hard for you, and the only thing we ask in return is if you hit the like button. You comment on the show and you share the show so someone can figure out about the I Love CVille show. Judah Wickhauer's on fire. You hit a grand slam. I'll say I hit a single and a double today. You hit a grand slam. Anything you want to close with?
Yeah, I have this picture from I think yesterday that it's another depiction of Kachis making the rounds and engaging with the community, and I appreciate that about him. And here it is.
You put it on screen?
Yeah.
Was this Hardy Drive? No, this was Prospect.
This was the one from Royal Gurley.
Oh, Superintendent of Charlottesville City Schools.
Yeah.
Superintendent Gurley put on his Twitter account Kachis interacting at the walking bus. Was this the walking bus stop?
It says, "We are appreciative of our new police chief for joining us at our bus stop visit this morning."
There you go. All right, I'll close with this. Police Chief Kachis, you're doing a great job. Mm-hmm. Assistant Police Chief Tito Durrett, you're doing a great job. Police Chief Sean Reeves, you are doing a great job. Tim Longo, you're doing a great job. Thank you for collaborating with each other. Thank you for keeping the community safe. I will always champion you guys. I do not have a job where I leave my house in the morning or at night and my life is at risk. All I have to do is talk in front of this microphone. You guys have to carry weapons on your body to potentially keep yourself safe. I understand the significance of your work and how your life is at risk often. And I applaud you and thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you. Thank you. For Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille show on a Wednesday. We are not on air for the I Love CVille show tomorrow. We are back in the saddle on Friday. No show tomorrow. Bellamy Brown on Friday at 12:30. So long.